Hey guys, Shane with Now That I'm Older. Check out Rogue Intel Prime with Duff and Chris. Anything goes in this podcast of infinite possibilities. The gang are sure to entertain with their take on the latest news, commentary, and review of, well, whatever the hell they feel like. Check out Rogue Intel Prime on rogueintel.com.
Hail to the kings, baby! Let's get groovy, because this is the powerful Nerdcast special Halloween edition. That's right, it's October, part 1, that's right. Today we have a lot of Halloween-themed topics for you guys today. We're going to talk about some of our favorite Halloween memories. We have some horror-themed anime to talk about, and Christian is going to let us know what his top 5 favorite horror movies of all time are, and I'm so excited because I have no idea what you've brought to the table this week, and I'm really excited to see what you're going to have to say. Next week we're going to do my list, but let's go ahead and begin with some other weird topics that aren't very Halloween themed, but something that I think will appeal to you because you're a big fan of technology, Christian.
Love shiny new tech things all the time. I mean, I'll go... Like, literally, it's like, I like shiny objects, you know? It's like, so when I go to Best Buy, I have to, like, leave my wallet in my car.
Exactly.
And I'm a big reader of, like, Gizmodo.com and some of the other Engadget, like, all that stuff. And if I had the money, I'd probably buy the new iPhone every time one came out.
I was going to say, you're probably one of those customers where as soon as the new iPhone comes out, you go ahead and ditch your old one, and we'll go ahead and go for the upgrade.
Well, you know, it's crap now. It's now that I know there's a better one. It's crap. You know, so, but yeah, technology and me, we go along well.
Well, and I know that you're one of the owners of one of those brand new boards. What are the actual names of them?
Okay, so they go by a lot. They're called Skywalkers, self-balancing skateboards, balance boards. They're those things that, how I remember them getting famous is rappers started using them all the time. And they put them all over Instagram. And I was like, well, if young...
When would they use them exactly? Like during a music video, a concert?
No. When they need to get around their ridiculously large houses and walking isn't convenient anymore.
Because who needs feet?
And I saw one on the street and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. I've got to get one. And they're only like $350, you know, and if you're making any amount of money, you can buy one. And got on Amazon and showed up. And it's the coolest thing ever. Yeah. I think it's cool anyway. Yeah. But also, I have the respect not to bring it into public because I think that's goofy and pompous to like... I saw a guy in the airport with one the other day. And I'm like, you're going to piss someone off because one TSA guy that doesn't like you can just shut the whole thing down and be like, nope, that's out of here. Can't bring that through. And then what are you going to do? And they're also heavy. You've picked up mine.
Yeah.
They're almost
you
like...
You lift weights with that damn thing.
Things like almost 40 pounds. Because that's to support the weight of a human, you know, so it's kind of weird. And then it's fun, though. You see me zoom around the office all the time on it, but I don't take it out in the public.
Exactly. Well, it's good that you have that mindset because if you ever decide to go over to the UK, apparently these hoverboards, as they call them, are going to be made illegal for on the streets, on the sidewalks, anywhere you go. Basically, the only place you can use these hoverboards is at your residence. And that is kind of lame, and it sort of defeats the purpose of what these things are really designed for.
But I'm from the streets, Corey. I'm from the streets, so I need to use them.
I'm from A Street.
From a cul-de-sac.
I grew up on A Street, yeah.
That's horrible. Cul-de-sac for life, yo.
But, do you think this is bad news for this? Do you think it's unfair that they're making them illegal and not allowing people to enjoy their,
No.
No.
There needs to be rules with these things. Just like with drones and everything else, there's going to be rules. The technology jumps ahead of the laws, and then the laws have to catch up. Sometimes the laws go too far, like the drone thing. Like I'm trying to get my commercial license for my drone, and I have to get a pilot's license, and I have to log like a bunch of hours, and I have to submit this formal paperwork through. They recommend you do it through an aviation attorney, and it's like overkill. I have to become a true, real pilot of one of those little Cessnas and documented with the U.S. before I can get a commercial drone license.
So they should probably do the same thing for these hoverboards. Maybe UK is suggesting that maybe you get a license to use these, but with UK's laws, like you still really wouldn't be able to use them anyway.
Well, this is the main problem you have. Segways were expensive, and they looked stupid.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. You looked like a fucking weirdo tourist on a Segway with your bicycle helmet, you know, like cruising around.
You know, I think Segways now, I just think of Paul Blart.
Mall Cop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He kind of made it cool in a sort of way. And that's on my top 5 horror films. No, it's not. I'm just fucking with you guys. But then they got really cheap. And they don't look as stupid anymore. Like mine's like slick black and it has like blue lights. It looks pretty cool. The guy I saw yesterday, he had a red one and he had like red shoes on. It fucking matched his outfit. This guy was like blinging out. Yeah. And I was like, damn.
Blinging out.
Yeah, I was like, this guy like knows what he's doing. And but yeah, there got to be rules, maybe a license, but like at the same time, like you're gonna go to the DMV and there's gonna be dudes on hoverboards now, like trying to get their Segway license,
like all in a line together, back to back.
That's the other thing. See, drones were really expensive. Back in the day, you want a cinematic drone, pay $10,000 plus the cost of your camera to put on that thing.
It was a premium.
Yeah, it was a big cost of entry, a barrier to entry, if you will. But now these hoverboards are $350, including shipping off Amazon. Everyone's got them. And now they're like crowding the area and nothing was set up for these things. So they're just trying to stamp them out with laws. And now, if you go to the Hoover Dam, it says no drones allowed. It has a big sign that says.
I can believe that.
Yeah. And then you're not allowed to fly a drone within 5 miles of the state capitol in Atlanta now, which I get. But at the same time, that seems a little overreaching. 5 miles. That's a long.
It is.
That's
I mean,
huge
Atlanta's
radius.
a pretty big city, but it's also not that big.
That's like half the city you can't fly around. So. Not that you should be flying around the city anyway.
No, of course not.
That's fucking dumb. Unless someone's paying you a lot of money, because then fuck it.
Yeah.
And but yeah, the point is the technology jumps ahead of the laws, and I feel like they're gonna have to like bring it back. But it's just gonna be a weird forever. Actually, there's new things that are gonna come out all the time. Like once they come out with new apps on the phone, I'm sure they're gonna have to come out with a law that says, oh, you can't use your thermal camera everywhere you go. That's an invasion of privacy. You could see into someone's house where they're standing in their house because you have a thermal camera on your phone. So they're just going to come out with new things all the time. But what do you think about those hoverboards? You tried it.
I think they're fun. Obviously, I didn't want to try them out at first because my balance is shit. It's just awful. I've never been able to even stand up on a regular skateboard. So that thing was already pretty intimidating. But honestly, I haven't fallen off of it yet. The first time I really gave it a chance, I was drunk as crap at a freaking convention, so I was just all happy, ready to give it a go. But, the more I see you use it, the more I see other people who've never used it before, it makes me want to try it out a little bit more. It's just, you can only go so fast on it, and it's just, to me, I just don't see the point, honestly, of it. I mean, I see the cool factor of it, it's obviously, it's fun to use and everything. But I just don't ever see myself ever really purchasing one. Same thing with the whole, Segway, when that came out. I actually did kind of like them. I thought they looked kind of cool, despite the fact that now they are considered pretty lame. But I would have never really purchased one.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully the U.S. doesn't get super weird about it. But the UK is
they probably will. I mean, it is the U.S. after
I
all.
think they should be banned in malls.
Yeah.
I think they should be banned in public areas because it is not super easy to navigate in groups of people. Like, I brought mine to Dragon Con, but it never left the parking deck where we parked our car because I was like, I'm not going to try to use this in. But then...
And little did we know that there was a
Goku riding one around, and he got on Ukaku.
He got on
Ukaku. Whatever that site is. Kotaku.
Yeah, you made the front page.
Yeah, I was like, fuck, I should have thought of that. Why didn't I inconvenience everyone and ride that around? But yeah, so it's cool, but it's also interesting. I also think we're in a golden age for a few things, because whenever I fly my drones, people immediately are like, whoa, that's a drone. But in 5 years from now, they're going to say, fuck you, get your drone out of here,
We'll see. I mean, how does, businesses like Amazon, how they have supposedly the whole drone delivery system, how do they handle that?
That doesn't exist yet.
Not yet?
It's all on paper. Okay. Well, they technically built a drone and showed how it works, but they're applying to the FAA, the Federal Aviation, Airspace Aviation, or whatever it is. I forget what the FAA stands for. They control the airspace around the U.S. So they're applying to get a license to do that, but it's crazy to think that there's drones that are going to be delivering packages.
They made a really funny joke about that on Family Guy the other night.
Really?
Because, I usually don't tune in for Family Guy for the new episodes, but lately I have been. They've actually been getting a little bit better. There was this great scene where Peter and Lois go to this mattress store, and they're getting ready to purchase a brand new mattress because theirs is just absolutely filthy. And they get there, they ask this guy all these questions about these mattresses, and as soon as they know exactly what they want, Lois gets on her phone, and the guy who's selling is like, you're looking it up on Amazon right now, aren't you? And she's like, yep, they have drones now. And as soon as she said that, outside of the window, you could see this drone that was carrying a mattress outside the window, and Lois and Peter had to immediately run home. They're like, we got to get there before the drone does.
With the, so it's sort of that's coming. But also, like, there's already Amazon Now, I think is what it's called, or Amazon Today, or I forget the term. But if there's a delivery center near you, they will deliver within like 3 hours of you ordering. There's just like their own personal insane. UPS,
that
system.
whole joke was capped off too, because as soon as they ran out, Peter ran back into the mattress store to say, regular businesses suck. So that was a really funny highlight on the whole like drone phenomenon, and of course the fact that everyone and their mom shops at Amazon.com. And why shouldn't they? It's convenient.
Yeah, I have Amazon. I've had Amazon Prime for almost 4 years now, and it is.
I haven't signed up for Prime yet.
The other thing is, I got a smart TV when we built this studio in the where we hang out and stuff, and it is so nice to be able to log into your Amazon Prime and watch movies that Netflix doesn't have on streaming on demand because you pay for that service. So not only do you get free 2-day delivery on most things, you also get all their music library and all their film library. And Amazon also has some of their own original series like Netflix. I think they have like this one that won an award called it's about transgender or something. It's called Caitlyn Jenner, the true story.
The true story
behind the music, Caitlyn Jenner or something like that.
It's not the Jeffrey Tambor show.
Yeah, I think it is. I forget that it's called like. I'm gonna look this up. Amazon.
I think that's what his name is.
He's a funny actor.
No, he's a great guy.
Amazon shows. I'm sure I'll find this in 2 seconds.
The Tamborinator. I'm pretty sure that's who it is.
Yeah. It's like called something. I forget. They got a whole bunch of cool shows here, though.
So check out It's Called Something on
It's
Amazon
called
Prime.
Something. Transformers? No, that's not transgender.
Or is it?
No. I'll find it in a little bit, but it's a whole show about identity, sexual identity and stuff. And I haven't seen any of it, but I keep hearing amazing things about it. So, it's called. One second, I think I found it. Where is it? Transparent.
Transparent.
Do you get it?
Yeah, it's a very nice pun. I can understand.
Yes,
it's about a parent who's also transgendered.
Transparent.
These guys come up with the names for Pokemon too. Like, jeez.
And I also see Louis season 1, which I also think Louis the first few seasons are one of the coolest things. Oh, Corey, I'm seeing that it is our birthday on a lot of our social media accounts because we picked Naruto's birthday for all of our social media accounts. Is that what
today is?
Yeah, today's Naruto's birthday.
Oh, God, it is.
So I just got like 3 different Skype messages saying, hey, happy birthday, Super Kami.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow.
So
it has been that long, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has been, multiple years, really.
Wow.
So it's not our true birthday, either of ours, or the channel's birthday.
It's just when we started out, we reviewed Naruto predominantly, so we're like, screw it, let's make that our birthday.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Well, you know what? Happy birthday, Naruto.
Happy birthday.
Hopefully your anime picks up soon and your fillers will go away.
The other big announcement I read today is that Playboy is no longer going to be doing nude photography.
I heard that. That on the Herman Cain show this morning. Shucky ducky, y'all.
Shucky ducky.
Yeah.
He dropped that in a news nugget.
Yeah.
God, if you don't listen to this local radio, you don't know what we're talking about.
I'm not really into politics too much. I don't consider myself left, right, Republican, Democrat, none of that stuff. But I do listen to Herman Cain every morning because I just think he's a really funny dude.
Well, here's the thing. He's a character.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And if you don't know who Herman Cain is, he was a presidential nominee that left the race before the final few people on the Republican side got chosen. And he's just a big, prominent radio guy here. And you probably have no idea who he is unless you live in the Atlanta market. But he's funny.
Yeah.
And he comes at it with a real powerful presence. So he's kind of entertaining, even if you're not Republican.
Can't police no underwear. All you can do is give that woodchuck a tuna melt, fancy shoes, or a metal skull crusher.
Highlander Marathon.
Dude, that's another thing. Ever since I started listening to the Herman Cain show, that's all I ever think about is the bad lip reading with Herman Cain.
Oh, yeah. It's great.
I always remember, I'm going to dance, make love, and fix snacks for the Highlander Marathon. That's right. It's so well timed and amazing. And I will say that out of context all the time now. I cannot help it. But let's get back on track. Playboy.
They
are no longer doing what Playboy is known for, which
now,
is
here's the other thing. Playboy says they're going to be PG-13 from now on.
Boo!
No, Playboy says there's enough porn on the internet now.
Well, of course there is. I mean, honestly, Playboy is an institution. You always hear those guys who say, "Oh, I read Playboy for the articles." It is true. They do have some really well-written
They're a
articles.
legitimate news source in some ways.
But we've got to have boobies in our Playboy magazines.
Well, I think the article I read, which is on Gizmodo, they said they're comparing it to the sexiest Instagram pictures you've ever seen, because Instagram has a no nudity policy.
They're trying to be like Maxim.
Yeah. They're trying to do centerfolds, but with no nudity, and they're getting rid of the nudity, and they're trying to become more legit. They're trying to become a Maxim. That's probably a good way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Or what's the other?
They're
Rolling
Playboy.
Stone. Isn't that a magazine too? Yeah, like a Rolling Stone or something. They're I don't read magazines, so I barely remember any of these things
anymore.
anymore.
At least waited until Hugh Hefner died to do this thing.
That would have been a weird correlation, though. Okay, he's gone, so now no more nudity. That would have been weird.
I mean, let's carry on the nudist legacy.
I was listening to Joe Rogan podcast, and Joe Rogan said he took his kids to Disneyland or World, whatever it's called in California, and he was there, and you can pay extra for this thing called the Fast Pass, where you just go through the exit and get on the ride right away.
You get a little slip. It'll be like, be here at 3 p.m.
Yeah, and you can fast pass into all the rides that way. Mm-hmm. And he said Hugh Hefner got on right before him with 3 of the Playmates.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, what is this guy? Is this real? He's still doing this? Is this the thing he does? Does he even care about, it's a weird life to be a dude that runs around with a bunch of hot 20-year-olds. It's awesome in some ways, but also very sort of character driven at a certain point. It's he is this guy,
Hugh Hefner has gone beyond himself. He's a living, breathing, almost fictional entity that shouldn't exist in real life, but there he is.
Yeah. And Jay Leno was I think the guest on that show, on that episode of the Joe Rogan podcast, and he was talking about how he went there with Arnold once at the Playboy Mansion. And Playboy Mansion is almost like a history museum, because I've never been there, but they have a zoo. They have the grotto.
Yeah, it's like a Bill Cosby DNA museum.
Bill Cosby hung out there a lot, doing a lot of bad things.
I think there are parts of Bill Cosby that are still hanging out there, but go on.
In the sheets and the curtains.
Yeah.
So they were just saying, he was just it's weird because he almost has a zoo for the girls, because he has all these hot chicks, there, and they're like, oh, stay for lunch. And he's and then so this guy came with a trash can bucket full of fried chicken and set it down, and all these girls jumped in it and started grabbing fried chicken and eating it, and he's it's he fed them like animals, So there he is with Arnold, and he said this is back in the late 80s, so Arnold's gigantic, 3 times as big as he is now, and then all these hot chicks, and so there's Jay Leno and Arnold watching these.
So Arnold Schwarzenegger hung out at the Playboy Mansion in the 80s eating fried chicken, and
it sounds like a cool time. It sounds like something I would have loved to have seen in my life. But yeah, so it just seems like he's a weird dude in some ways. It's a weird thing. I mean, like you said, he's a character that almost wouldn't exist in real life. So, Hugh Hefner and the Playboy, but they still have a lot of merchandise. Playboy makes money in a lot of different ways. They're not the magazine sales. I think they were even saying the magazine went from about it went from 5.6 printed editions, and then it's been dropping by 1 million every year, in a while.
You could say that probably about almost every major magazine, though.
Yeah.
A lot of
print is dying. Print is dying,
to say the least.
Yeah,
I think there will always be a place for print, but it's never going to be the same as it was. Not as prosperous.
No, well, there's choices now. There's choices. So yeah, there's that, and it's gone now. It's just no more nudity in Playboy.
Well, I am disappointed. You know what? And I shouldn't even be. I've never even purchased a single issue of Playboy.
No, I just always found him in the woods. How many people used to find porn in the woods?
Dude, the first time I ever saw porn, I found it in the woods.
That's gone now, though.
Yeah.
That's never going to exist anymore.
Just randomly. It wasn't at my house. It was over at my friend's house. We were spending the night, and they lived in an apartment complex, and they had this park that was right behind their apartment. And we were crossing over there and going past the river, and lo and behold, just in this garbage bag right there that was clearly opened up, 6 videotapes and 20 magazines.
You're like, this is porn. I get it.
This is porn. And like, that was the day that changed everything, to say the least.
This is the day your hormones kicked in?
Yeah. But they don't do that no more. If you want to look for porn in the woods, you just got to type it in a Google search engine.
And then people be fucking in the woods on your phone.
Exactly. Hell, exactly. Look on your phone. Like, that's how much this stuff has changed. I don't think this is a good... Personally, like I said, though, I don't think this is a good decision for Playboy. I think this is going to end up hurting them a lot. Especially because
what are they trying to do? They're trying
to get rid of what made Playboy Playboy.
They're trying to appeal to a larger audience.
This is like if McDonald's said, "All right, no more Big Macs." Like, just you don't do that. Like,
yeah, you don't.
Boobies made Playboy. Like, Playboy bunnies made Playboy. That's what made them so popular. I don't know if they're going to be able to survive on their own steam with, maybe it's just because of the name. Maybe that's what's going to keep them alive. Because it's such a well-known magazine around the world. Everybody, even when people reference, like, seeing porn as a kid, you're like, oh, you found the Playboys, right? Like,
even if it was a Hustler.
Yeah.
Even if it was like, oh, you got some Playboys, you know? So,
I'm sure Hustler is still in business.
Hopefully.
Never saw any Hustlers.
Well, I see them in the plastic bags where you can't see the covers in gas stations and stuff.
I'm a motherfucking hustler.
Motherfucker.
But yeah, that's a shame for Playboy. It sounds pretty horrifying. And you know what? That makes sense. Because it's October, which means it is the Halloween season. And I love freaking Halloween. It's always been one of my favorite holidays. I've had so many great Halloween memories from when I was a kid. And honestly, I think Halloween has changed a lot since we were kids. Honestly, back in the day, like when I used to go trick-or-treating with friends and everything, like our neighborhoods were filled. Like hundreds of kids bumping into each other, going from house to house, and trick-or-treating from like 6 all the way till about 11 o'clock at night. And we didn't use bags, we didn't use pumpkin barrels, we used our freaking sheets, our bed sheets, our freaking pillowcases in order to fill it up with candy. And you could literally fill like up to close 50 to even more pounds just of candy from like one night of trick-or-treating. Now things are a little different. I live at my house now, and I do trick-or-treat duty every single year, and I always wait for the kids to come up so I can scare the living crap out of them. But every year just seems to get a little bit lower. Like there's, last year I think I had a total of 10 trick-or-treaters the entire night.
Well, you could also say the area you live in, the kids are growing up.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that that's not really a good sample necessarily.
It's a big family neighborhood, though, so I was expecting it to be a little crazier. I am going to be doing it again this year. I am going to be scaring children and giving them nightmares. I am going to be using a chainsaw this year, which does not have a chain on it. Thank you, Dad, for letting me borrow that. I really appreciate that. I will return it without, hopefully letting
without children
destroy.
Bits? Without children
without
bits?
children missing. But yeah, I'm putting up decorations like in the next week. I'm getting all happy for the Halloween season. I freaking love Halloween. And the other thing is costumes. Like those are obviously really important with Halloween. Did you ever have like a favorite Halloween costume you had, or like something that you always win as?
No, I did Wolverine a lot when I was a real young kid.
Really, Wolverine?
Yeah, because it was cool and I had claws and I thought that was the shit. But I always did a soldier because I thought it was cool to dress up in camo and say I'm a special ops kid, and like I thought that was cool, and it was fun to carry a gun and a plastic gun and stuff like that. So that was fun. But no, I don't think I had a 100% favorite. Dressing up was never all that interesting for me. No. I just cared about the candy. There
was always that one kid in the group who had like not much of a costume at all, maybe barely anything, maybe one mask, maybe just put a little paint on their face. They were there just for the candy.
Well, I remember I used to dress up as a ghost, but the sheets, it was kind of embarrassing. Like my mom probably like menstruated on the sheets because it had a little red spot. So I said I was a ghost that got shot. No, I made all that up.
Wow! I was like, dude, there's no way I'm going to be able to talk this story in the amount of awkwardness that came from that.
I just made that up.
Holy shit! Oh my god, I was so hoping that story was true. I was like, this is officially the greatest podcast. You wore a sheet that your mom menstruated.
I was a ghost that got shot.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to compose myself. That was so great.
I'm glad you thought it was good.
I wish I had something that I could one-up that with. I just cosplayed as Jason a lot.
Yeah.
Basically, even as a kid, I was obsessed with Friday the 13th movies. And that's because I had a really big love of horror films when I was growing up. Mostly because my dad let me get away with watching a lot that I really should not have seen at a younger age. And because of that, I've become a big fan of horror movies. And that brings us to our next big topic, Christian, which is going to involve you.
Yes.
You are going to tell us what your top 5 favorite horror movies are. We're just going to go through the list and discuss each of these. I have no idea what they are, so I'm really excited to see what they're going to be. Just basically go through the list, let us know what it is, and we'll just discuss it.
Okay, first one.
These
are not in order from best to least. They're just my top.
Your top, in general.
My 5, yeah. First one, Event Horizon.
Wow! Really?
That movie freaked me out as a kid.
Wow, this is great. You know Nostalgia Critic just reviewed that?
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it's fucking weird. It's a weird, dark movie, and it always blew my mind because it has the actor... first of all, it has Lawrence Fishburne in it, so that's awesome.
It's also got, what's his name from...
Sam Neill.
Sam Neill from Jurassic Park.
That's the thing that blew my mind. I was like, that's the paleontologist from South... Oh, shit, there's blood all over him! You know, not South Park. I meant to say Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
But, and it's about a spaceship that has like warp technology to get around faster in space, but ends up warping to hell.
Yeah.
And then coming back, and it's haunted now.
Yeah, it's kind of like Dune in some senses. Like they open a portal to hell.
Yeah, they open a portal to hell, but there's no fighting back with guns. There's just... And then there's also like his wife keeps showing up, or his girlfriend, or one of the crew keeps showing up with no eyeballs.
I think that's Sam Neill's character.
Yeah.
Like his wife will constantly just sort of appear like right next to him with no eyes, just completely blackened.
Yeah.
Looking really, really
with like
creepy.
blood coming out of the sockets and stuff.
Now, is that because the portal to hell, which has been opened in space, is like driving him insane? Like,
yeah, they're slowly, like, everyone's going crazy. And here's the other thing about that film. You should probably watch the trailer, Event Horizon, because the visuals of it are very interesting. Like, you know, when he's crawling through that circuit board, like, tunnel, you know, and there's also that long tube that has, like, I don't know what it is. It's like the spinning, and then they're, like, walking through that hallway.
Oh, it's...
Is that like
it's like the walls are constantly like moving, like you're walking through like a corkscrew tunnel that's constantly moving. God, I love that you mentioned Event Horizon, dude, because like I said, Nostalgia Critic just reviewed it and he tore it to pieces.
Well, it's not, I'm not saying it's the best movie. It just, as a child, it freaked me out.
I'm surprised you saw that as a child, man.
Well, I saw a lot.
Because I did not, you know, I said that I saw a lot of horror movies like at a young age that I probably shouldn't have seen. Event Horizon like never became relevant to me until I was like, I think 17, 18 years old. Like that was the first time I saw it. So I was a little more seasoned, so I can only imagine what that movie did to you.
Most of my films, because I don't really like chase down horror films, like they're not my thing. So most of the horror films on my list are things that freaked me out as a child.
Yeah, real visceral stuff.
Yeah, like a lot. Some of it's
and
pretty
that movie
gory.
Does have some like really messed up imagery because like what happens is like in that story, at least to my recollection, is they're going into space. The portal opens up. You have the one scientist, which is Sam Neill, and then you have like all of these like space trucker-esque characters, kind of like the guys you would see from Alien. And one by one, they're sort of like killed off by these mysterious forces. And by the end of the movie, you see that not only were they killed, but they're also being constantly tortured by the denizens of hell. With some imagery which just looks so freaking ghastly. And according to Nostalgia Critic's review, he actually said that a lot of the movie was cut down. It was originally going to be like an NC-17 rated X movie.
Whoa.
And they had to like chop a lot of that imagery down at the very end where all of the characters are like covered in barbed wire and being tortured and shit.
It has some
like, that
really...
stuff's really hard to look at.
Really powerful visuals. And this is way before like Saw, way before, what's that one where The Hostel.
Yeah.
You know, way before we had torture porn movies. You know, so this was like freaking me out as a child. Okay, my next one.
Next movie. So Event Horizon. It's pretty damn freaky.
It's freaky. Watch the trailer, and if you're interested, check it out. Next one. First, Blair Witch Project.
Okay. I can understand.
Again, very young, freaked me out. One of the very first successful found footage films. And literally, they advertised this like this really happened. They really didn't want to.
I believed it happened.
Yeah, a lot of
when
people.
When it first came out.
Like, a lot of people thought this film was for real. And is it the best acted or best concept? No. But they build up the tension so much, literally anything you see freaks you out.
Yeah.
Like, anything. They're like, and they turn in, there's a hand on the outside of the tent pressing on. And you're like, ah! It's like you didn't see shit. And then like there's the where they run away and then it's just her face like you know, like all
such
that
an iconic shot.
Yeah, like that's practically the what you think of when you see the movie. And then, you know, at the end you think you see something and then the camera goes black. They like don't even show you anything.
No, and that's the other thing that's kind of genius about that movie. It's not really a gory film. I mean, there's a little bit of blood here and there.
Or there's
really,
teeth. They find teeth in the back.
And the weird little basket thing that the Blair Witch leaves for them.
Yeah.
But the genius of that film, which is what I think most real good horror films do, is they use barely any gore, and it's up to your mind that what you see, what you hear, what's scarier in your thoughts is way scarier than anything that you see in that movie. But it's made so that every single person who watches it is going to have their own personal horror experience with that film.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And the Blair Witch Project, just to me, was a well done horror movie at its roots. Don't show too much. Mm-hmm. Keep the tension high. Keep everything kind of guessing. Keep the audience guessing. And it freaked me out because I watched it in the fall. And the woods look just like those woods for me,
mm-hmm. And when did you actually see it? Did you see it when it was in? I know
right after it came out on VHS, or like DVD.
That's when I saw it too. But my circumstances from seeing the movie were very different. I don't know if you ever had this luck back in the day. Remember how we used to have pay-per-view movies, which I think they still do.
Yeah.
Like on-demand type stuff. Occasionally, those channels would come in clean. Like, just randomly. Like, you would get a movie that would just play out of nowhere. And me and my cousin, Davis, I'm dropping his name right now.
Yeah.
There was one day at school where we actually didn't go to school. We would do this thing where we would walk down to the bus stop, and if the bus didn't show up within... Because sometimes our bus would run really late. We were one of the last people picked up. If it ran, like, over 20 minutes... we would just turn around and go home and not tell our parents about it. And we skipped a couple times in middle school. And in the fall of 1999, we did that one day, went back to my house, watched Pokemon, which was fucking awesome. That was another reason why it was good to go home that day, because it's like, fuck, Pokemon is on when we're at school. This is bullshit. And pay-per-view started playing, and we watched 75% of the Blair Witch Project. We missed the first 20 minutes because it just wasn't working, and then it randomly just started playing, which almost seemed like a horror thing in itself. It's like, how the fuck is this even happening?
Yes.
And we watched all the way to the end of the movie, and that movie freaking it flipped me out, man. Like, I couldn't sleep for a week. That final scene
because it's
when
all
they
in
go
your
into
head.
the house. Yeah.
It's all in your head.
To me, though, what I was seeing was way more horrifying than what they were seeing, like that final shot when they go down into that house in the basement. It's just a dude standing in the corner, and then the chick knocks over, and boom, that's the end of the movie. But, God, the images it will put in your head are just terrifying.
Yes.
That is a movie that is also genius in that it probably didn't cost them jack shit. And they made so much money on that movie. And at the time, it was fresh. It was inventive. Now we have a lot of found footage movies, which are, very by the numbers. Paranormal activity, if you will.
Yes. Like, even the sequels they did for this movie sucked so bad. Oh, the Blair Witch Project sequels, never watched them. They are not Blair Witch Project concept. They're
not even, like, related, really. I mean, like, because the first movie's a found footage one. The second one's a traditional horror film.
Yeah.
And it's garbage. It's so freaking bad.
It's bad. It's just bad. Okay.
So the Blair Witch Project. Check it out, people.
Okay. Get 3 left.
Oh, yeah.
I've got 2 honorable mentions, but I'll do those later.
We'll get to those at the end.
Yeah.
Right before we get to number 1.
Yes. Okay. The next one, Alien. Freaked me out as a kid. Because these technically space truckers are just there, and then there's only one alien. They do what they were doing on the first one. Mm-hmm. Ridley Scott knew what he was doing. It's just like this alien. Is that where the chest burster comes out, or is that the second one that they start doing that?
They're technically in both, but the first chest burster scene was from
That's the
original
cafeteria one?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think it was a cafeteria.
Yeah. It's when they're all just sitting down to have lunch and everything, and then suddenly the guy starts coughing up, and then boom, it happens. And what's most genius about that scene, too, is they never showed anybody what that effect would look like. Like, before they actually filmed it, they wanted to surprise the actors because they were so proud of their special effects. That one female who's watching it happen up close, who has the blood squirt on her face, her reaction's totally real.
Really?
Like, she's legitimately freaked the fuck out because the effects look so good. They still look good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, parts of Alien look good. Parts of it have aged poorly. Like, if you see, like, a 4K remastered version of Alien, it looks like shit when it's not supposed to be that high def, because some of the stuff doesn't hold up. The practicals do because they're practicals. Mm-hmm. But, like, the spaceship looks like fucking something with strings, and some of the stuff.
In some shots,
Yeah. But Alien is just another great movie about the alien not being seen much and slowly taking out everyone and freaking you out every step of the way because you don't know who's next.
It's a real slow crawl of a movie.
Yeah.
It's atmospheric as hell. The side characters are really interesting, and that's something that's really hard to do in a horror film, which is to make likable characters that you don't want to see get killed.
You just want some throwaway black guys that die first, right? No. But it was very good, and it's a very interesting film. And
it's unlike any of the other Alien movies, too, because it really is a horror film.
Yeah, it is. You don't the Alien sort of what would you say, like, universe hadn't really been explored very much yet. Like
it was
the lore, the Alien lore wasn't known, and so it's very good.
Yeah, in many ways, it was kind of like just like a traditional slasher movie, just in space.
And Sigourney Weaver is a badass actress that was pretty hot back then. So it was kind of cool.
I mean, that movie definitely, I think, helped her career. It was also great to have a really strong female lead who like wasn't stereotypical in any sense of the word. Like, Ripley was badass. Like, she was the only one, I think, who even survived the first Alien film, I believe. I think it was her and a cat. I think that was about it. Everyone else just gets completely destroyed by this thing. I remember, because back in the early 90s, Alien had something of a small revival because Alien 3 had just come out, and for some odd reason, they're like, hell, this seems like a perfect idea to market toys for kids. Let's make a bunch of Alien toys. And because of that, I started getting into Alien a lot more. I was like, oh, this is so cool. It's all these monsters and people fighting aliens in space. And I was like, Mom, I want to rent this movie. She's like, okay. And since my mom is completely oblivious to horror films because she freaking hates them, rented the first 2 Alien films. Sat down to watch Alien, got an hour in, turned it off, running screaming to my mom, especially during the scene where I think it was one of the main male leads, and he has one of those like radar trackers.
Yeah.
And he's trying to escape, and he's like, "It's getting closer, it's getting closer," and you don't see anything, and he's just walking through this dark tunnel, and then he's like, "It stopped," and then as soon as he turns over, the light flashes, and you just see the alien for like a split second. It's all like, bah! And that's it. That's like the biggest scare in the movie. I screamed running down the hallway to like my mom, like crying. Like, that scene freaked me out so damn much, and it's still really disturbing.
Yeah, no, that scene and so many other, the tension was the great selling point of those films. I think that's a big theme in the first 3 is the tension is always rock solid throughout the film.
Especially those final climaxes, like with Ripley just trying to escape the alien on her own. The overall set of the ship, just how dark and claustrophobic it is, all of the smoke and the fog, and never knowing where that alien's going to pop in, because the alien's design, which was designed by a guy named H.R. Geiger, like, he made it look kind of like this combination of like inorganic and organic material. Like, it blends in really well with all of its environment.
Yeah, with that whole hard black steel look of the ship, it just blends in.
And you never know where it's going to pop up.
That guy, didn't he die a little while ago?
I believe he did, unfortunately.
Yeah, he just had an art style that was so interesting. What's his name again, if you want to go look?
I think it's H.R. Geiger.
You look up his art, though. All very interesting. He had a very strong style. I strongly recommend you look up his
effectively
art.
Created one of the most iconic movie monsters of all time, the Alien itself, which is continuing to pop up. Will probably make another appearance in all these brand new Alien and Prometheus films as well.
Yes. Okay.
So Alien is a fantastic choice. I think it's really funny that Event Horizon and Alien are on the same list, because
a lot of space.
Event Horizon took so much from Alien's set design.
Oh yeah,
They look nearly identical.
But in some ways, I feel Event Horizon went bigger with it. Because their ship doesn't feel as claustrophobic in some ways.
It's definitely more open. Yeah.
There are certain moments of Event Horizon that are very claustrophobic, like the green tunnels where they're crawling through trying to get to the circuit boards, and then he turns and his wife's there with no eyeballs and blood, and she's like, it's very
for kids.
For kids, I shouldn't have seen that. Okay, the last 2 are sort of fun movies, but still very much horror movies.
Number 4.
4, Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead. Awesome. I love that you went with this choice.
Well, it's technically a horror film in certain ways. It gets very serious at the end, randomly.
Yeah.
And anything to do with zombies is great.
Yeah.
I could have picked any other zombie film because I like them all, but I think Shaun of the Dead understood the world it was creating the movie in more than a lot of other zombie films, and had a very strong sort of feeling. And I just think Shaun of the Dead is always fun to watch, but at the same time, in the right circumstances, can be kind of scary. You know?
Yeah, that is an interesting choice. I didn't expect you to choose any like big hardcore like comedy horror films. I do have one on my list. We're not talking about that yet, but Shaun of the Dead is a really interesting choice because you're right. It's really funny. It's very well written. It's got some amazing characters, but there's a lot of like really fucked up scenes in the movie too. A lot of really nasty gore that's very reminiscent of like classic Romero zombie movies.
It's
like,
very much a Romero comedy in some ways. That's a good way to put it, but with a British comedy spin.
Yeah.
Dry humor.
Yeah. Infinitely quotable too. There's just so many amazing moments from the film. And I think the most genius thing about Shaun of the Dead is that the first half of the movie, before the zombies are there, is exactly the same as the second half, except that zombies are involved.
Yeah.
Like, they foreshadow every single event. They repeat lines multiple times. It's like watching the same movie twice, except the second version just has zombies in it. And it's... God, I can't get enough of that movie.
All that doesn't happen on accident. They knew what they were making. And overall, I think if you guys have never seen Shaun of the Dead, go check that out, because that is a fun, through and through good film. And the only one that I didn't see as a child that freaks me out.
I think we saw that for the first time.
Yep.
I think it was at your house.
Yep.
I think you just gotten the brand new HD TV.
Oh God,
back in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And man, that movie was so damn funny for the first time. I still think it's one of the best zombie movies. A lot of people like to compare it to Zombieland because it's kind of got like the same thing going for it.
Zombieland's not as good.
I like Zombieland.
It is good.
But it has kind of that tone where it's funny, it's really goofy, but can also go into like really creepy territory as well with its violence and its gore.
The only scene that I think Zombieland hands down has better than Shaun of the Dead is the Bill Murray scene.
That's just so unique to that movie.
Yeah,
too.
it's like any regrets? Maybe Garfield.
Yeah. But the other cool thing about Shaun of the Dead before we move on to the next one is that it's actually a part of a trilogy. They're not connected per se. You remember the other movie, Hot Fuzz?
Hot Fuzz
could technically be considered like a slasher horror movie because of the subject matter. And then you have the final one, which I think is...
The World's End?
Yeah, World's End, which is about aliens.
Yes.
All three movies are connected. They're called the Cornetto Trilogy. Do you know why that is?
No, I don't know what that word means.
That's because in every single one of these films, a character or characters are seen eating ice cream, which is a brand which is called Cornetto. And in every single movie...
That is the weakest fucking link I've ever heard.
I know, it's hilarious, and it's the same type of like those like peanutty bars, with all the peanuts on top. They have a different flavor in every single movie, and because of that, the director who's worked on all of them and using the same actors, he's like, "This is my Cornetto trilogy."
Well,
it's
really,
all held together by the theme of ice cream.
It's bullshit. They're obviously the same people making them, but that's a real leap to say that's a trilogy.
Every movie also has the same joke that started in Shaun of the Dead, which was when they were hopping the fences. Yeah, like they include that joke in every single movie in like a different sense as well. There's definitely running gags.
I love Hot Fuzz where they're making fun of Breaking Point where he shoots in the air screaming. Do you ever shoot into the air with passion and scream? And he's like, no, I'm a police officer. I don't do that.
Right. Check out Shaun of the Dead. It's one of the greatest horror comedies, and it's actually a legitimately good zombie.
What's your favorite? Hot Fuzz, World's End, or Shaun of the Dead?
Oh, Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead, too. Yeah.
I love Hot Fuzz. It's really growing on me, and World's End is good. It's definitely the weakest of the three.
I was about to say that.
But Shaun of the Dead is just... Damn, dude, it's so good. Almost every single line of dialogue is funny.
I don't even think The World's End is the weakest because it's a bad film. I just think the other ones are so strong.
Yeah.
It's not any fault to that film. And maybe I'm almost just tired of the same sort of universe again. But you're kind of wore out by that point. So, but Shaun of the Dead, hands down, great film. Okay, last.
All right, well, first, before we get to the last, do you have honorable mentions?
Yes, okay. Now, this is a stretch, but I liked it and it freaked me out as a child.
Okay.
The House on Haunted Hill, the remake. Do you remember that one?
I'm trying not to confuse it because there were two movies that came out during that period which were remakes.
1999.
There was House on Haunted Hill, and then there was I think it was called The Haunting.
Okay,
I think House on Haunted Hill, was it about the guy who owns an amusement park and he invites all those people to the house to like stay for one night?
Yes, he offers them $1 million if they stay in this house for one night.
It is freaky deaky.
It is freaky deaky, and it's just
wasn't it like they go to this, like the whole building they go to, the house is like actually it used to belong to like these like crazy surgeons or something.
Yes.
Yeah. I haven't seen that in years.
It is weird. The visuals of that film just
are intense.
Yeah, so I remember seeing that as a kid, and I don't even think it's that great of a movie. I'll be 100% honest. This is the one I'm sort of mentioning that I don't know if I'm actually recommending you watch it.
Yeah,
but
it's actually a remake too.
Yeah, it is a remake.
The original starred Vincent Price.
It has Geoffrey Rush. Is that how you say?
Geoffrey Rush.
Geoffrey Rush.
It also has what's her name who played Phoenix from X-Men, I believe.
Yes.
Fanta Jensen.
Yes.
Oh man, she's so fine.
Yeah, she looked great back then
she
too.
She still looks great, man.
She looked better then.
Gorgeous.
And then it also has that black guy. I forget his name though. Ty Diggs.
That black guy. Who actually survives, I believe.
Yes, he runs out, but there's pretty much a big ghost, big cloud monster.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a big what was the Fantastic Four, the first villain?
Oh, it was Galactus.
It's a big Galactus cloud monster at the end.
Didn't it also have Chris Kattan?
Chris Kattan, he's like a goofy little dude. He's like, "Whoa, man, what's happening?
Yeah.
House is haunted, huh?" Chris Kattan, I'm sorry.
Where are you? We miss you, man.
You can come on our podcast. We know you need work. You know, we'll give you a few bucks and lunch. So that's such a dick thing to say. I'm sorry, bro. You've done more with your life than I ever will, even if it is just this.
For the people who only listen to this are only going to get half that joke, but still.
I was head bobbing.
But yeah,
like Night at the
House
Roxbury.
on Haunted Hill, yeah. I've only watched it like, I think maybe once back in the day, but I remember it really freaked me out with its imagery.
Last honorable mention.
Last honorable mention.
The Ring. The first one.
The Ringu.
The Ringu.
Yeah, based on the Japanese horror film Ringu.
That was one of the first, when America finally figured out, oh wait, the Japanese make the freakiest shit.
Yeah.
Let's throw some white people in it and remake it. And repackage it.
Yeah.
So, also The Audition. I don't mean to mention too many things, but The Audition is the weirdest. That's more like a Saw hostile torture porn kind of film with a weird atmosphere. That is a Japanese film. That is not I'm mentioning two movies at once now. I'm sorry, I'm getting off track. But both those films, The Ring and Audition, sort of really give you a strong feel of what Japanese horror is like.
Especially Audition.
Well, that's like a film. I bought that film and then I watched it with you and I threw it away. I was like, I'll never need to watch that again. Yeah. I don't want it in my house. And
that's either a sign that the movie was really effective in what it was trying to convey, or it was a really bad movie. It's kind of a weird thing.
It was effective, but yet I will never let that back into my brain.
Yeah, it's like
I have
there's
limits.
never going to be a situation where I'm going to relax and watch Audition today. You know, that's never going to happen.
Once the torture dude that was in the burlap sack crawled out, and then the chick threw up in a dog bowl and fed it to him, I was like, this is a film I never need to watch. That's like just the
halfway point, too.
Yeah, that's when you're like, oh, that's the tone we're setting, huh? I'm like, don't watch it.
But then, of course, there's The Ring. That movie was really popular when it came out for the first time.
It did it right. How it's not the first time you hear, oh, it's a scary girl ghost, you know, because her parents didn't kill her and it's haunted and so, you know, it was just really well made. And I think the tone was solid all the way through.
Yeah, I think it was one of those movies that popularized the idea of like the creepy ghost girl.
Yes.
You know, I think it had always been around, but like that's when it really put it into the public eye. And that's always been something that gets seen a lot in Japanese anime as well. Yeah,
I just feel like it was just really good, you know, in general. So I think that The Ring is just always a good freaky movie if you want to get freaked out. And the main lead guy in it gets totally fucked up at the end. And you didn't see that coming because he's a likable character. Thought he was good. And when that girl crawls out of the TV for the first time, it's like, holy fuck. You know, like it was really weird.
I prefer the Scary Movie 3 version.
Where he beats her ass after she comes out?
Yeah.
All those scary movies. That's all. Like, we could do a whole podcast on just the Scary Movie series. So
how good and how bad they are. Just
they're really not that good, but they're pretty good. They're also pretty good.
All right. So another thing, if you guys, like I said, mentioned in last week's podcast, James Rolfe, Angry Video Game Nerd, he's doing his Monster Madness, and he did one on Ring. So make sure to check that out. But now that we got those honorable mentions, what is your final favorite horror film?
I could rewatch this movie any day of the week. Tremors. It is a horror film. It is a horror film.
It is. Oh my gosh. Why Tremors?
Because it's got Kevin Bacon. He's rocking it. And the gun scene alone made that movie for me. You know, the redneck dude in Arizona.
Yeah,
when they bust in.
When the real Tremors nerds will know that they're called graboids.
Graboids.
The graboid comes in and like it busts through their wall. And it
this
just so
rednecks base it.
And it went into the worst place possible. Because these people have so many guns up on their wall. And they just unload everything into this
like they're grabbing a gun, boom, 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 boom. Okay, grab a new one, boom, 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 boom. And so it was just a very interesting film. And again, freaked me out as a kid.
Yeah.
You know? And also I liked the setting, the desert sort of setting and everything like that. I thought
so basically if you don't know, the premise of Tremors is that it takes place out in this Nevada desert, and there are these giant prehistoric sandworms which have come out from out of nowhere, and they're destroying all the livestock and they're eating people, so something has to be done about these monsters. The other problem is they actually end up trapping everybody in this small town because there's only one way out by going through this pass, and they completely destroy it with all this rubble. So now all these people are trapped in this very small place, which I think is called Perfection. I think that's actually the name of the town.
No, you got a better memory than me. I don't remember any of that.
Dude, I've seen Tremors so many fucking times. And then you have these two unlikely heroes, one of which is played by Kevin Bacon, and the other one, I think the actor's name is Burt Ward. I might be wrong, though. But he's basically the real lead of the movie, but he went on to star in a lot of the sequels. And so they have to do everything they can to stop these giant worms, which are just so disgustingly awesome looking. Like, they're not like your typical just like giant dune worm or anything. Like, they look like this giant monster worm with like a big like bird's beak that can like spit out even larger like snakes out of its mouth, which it uses to grab people. It's a real creepy design, and it's a great use of practical effects, which the new Tremors 5 just came out recently.
Oh my
God. If you're a Tremors fan, check it out. The CG is no substitute for the practical effects at all.
I gotta kind of look that up.
But yeah, the movie, it creeped me out as a kid too. I remember watching it really early when I was young because they showed it as a primetime movie on, I think it was ABC, and the whole family, we all tuned in for it. And it scared the crap out of me. But what I love most about Tremors is that in many ways it's kind of like a tribute to like the old like sci-fi monster movies from like the 1950s, except it's just a slightly more modernized version of that. It's not too overly violent, it's not too scary. It is actually the type of horror movie you could watch with some mature children. I think they really could get something out of it, and they definitely get some creeps and crawls from it. But yeah, that's just a really memorable movie. The setting, like you said too, the desert, is a really good setting because it's very isolated, and you know there's not a lot of like they can't get a lot of help from people, and that actually adds a little bit to the dread of being trapped in this desert with worms that like live there exclusively. So it's really disturbing. That and the fact that they can crawl in the ground and everything.
So you know the old family sitcom, Family Ties?
Yeah.
The dad was actually the gun-toting redneck dude.
Really?
I think so.
Oh my gosh.
That's weird. I saw that on IMDb.
Actually, I think that character's name in the movie was Bert.
Bert.
I think that's who it was.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for not knowing that guy's name because I've seen those movies so many times, and he was really memorable in the sequel to Tremors 2 because, again, he brought all that crazy weaponry. His giant truck was just filled with all of these explosives and different guns and everything.
Yeah, it's just, you know, and again, you guys, the other thing is there are so many good horror films out there, you know, like I'm just telling you my favorites from my perspective, but like there's a bunch of other good stuff like Scream. The first Scream was great, you know, like there's just a bunch of really good stuff.
The TV show was a bust.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, it happened this year.
Really?
Yeah, it was on MTV of all places.
Whoa.
Yeah, they made a TV version. It actually has pretty much nothing to do with the movies outside of the fact that it's called Scream and it involves a killer who wears a mask who calls people and then, you know, plays with them and kills them. But yeah, it was not very good.
Anyway, who cares?
But anyway, Tremors. I'm really shocked that you went with a movie like that. I think that's really great.
It just impacted me a lot when I was younger, and I'll never forget Tremors. If I have kids, I'll definitely show it to them eventually and warp their minds.
And show them the sequel too. I think that the first sequel is fun.
Is that where they start flying?
No, that's when they give birth to like they go through a metamorphosis process.
They do little raptor versions.
Yeah, and they have like these little like heat sensors on their head, which they can use to like sense people's like thermal energy.
Yeah,
and that's when they attack them. It's very much like the first movie, where it's not super violent. It's just a fun action like horror movie with really cool monster designs. And again, that second movie also utilizes a lot of practical effects because thank God it was made in the mid-90s. Before CG went too crazy. There is CG in that movie, though, and it is very archaic. But check out the original Tremors. It's a great tribute to the monster sci-fi movies of the classic 1950s. Just
absolutely,
it's
more good.
Violent. So
really good.
Christian, I got to say, I'm really surprised.
Hell yeah, I went hard on this
I liked
list.
Your list.
It's very different,
really cool.
And I don't think you're going to find that top 5 anywhere on the internet.
I don't think so either. That's what I really love about this because our lists are so different. Like next week when we get to mine, you're going to see very different type of lists. There's only maybe one on my list that's kind of in the vein of Shaun of Dead, but it's still, a little more serious.
How many do you think I could predict your list? I know
try and predict a couple. See if you can get it.
I'm sure there's some Halloweens or some Fridays or some Jasons.
There is. Actually, I'm not sure yet.
Okay. Don't give it away.
Yeah, I don't want to give it away. There aren't any Halloweens, though. I'll tell you that much right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the Halloween series. Mostly the first one. That's saying I really don't like the series, actually. I mostly just like the first Halloween film. Everything else is kind of garbage. Although I did like watching Busta Rhymes beat up Michael Myers in a burning house saying, "Trick or treat, motherfucker!" While doing karate and I want you to, yeah, he's actually doing the wah kind of shit. Like, he literally did all of that, beating up Michael Myers.
Oh my God.
Why didn't he just stab him?
I think they just were like, you know what, Busta, just do what you want. He's like, I'm going to call him motherfucker. And they're like, good, whatever. We'll get those cameras rolling. Let's do this.
Oh, God, that is absolutely fantastic. But you know what, guys? I think we're going to go ahead and end it there today. We've gotten through all of these horror movies. Christian, your list was absolutely amazing. Make sure to tell us in the comments section below, what are your favorite horror films? Please tell us why. Do you have a top 5, maybe a top 10? Are you guys excited for Halloween? Make sure to tell us in the comments section below. I did have one other topic that I wanted to talk about, but we're going to save that for next week, and that is horror-themed anime, because there's a lot of creepy anime.
Yeah, we'll save that for next week, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For
so
sure.
We'll definitely talk about that. Do you guys have a favorite horror-themed anime? Tell us in the comments section below, and we might talk about it. But before we go, I just want to thank our...
Get your face into that mic when you talk, Corey.
What am I doing? I know, I'm sorry. I can't help it. I got to do it, man. Yeah. But I want to go ahead and thank our affiliate, which is RogueIntel.com.
They make it possible.
Who make this show possible. They put up our show on iTunes, as well as host a lot of other amazing shows. So make sure to check them out. If you guys actually want to support them, what I would recommend doing is heading on over to RogueIntel.com. I would also check out RogueIntel.com/Amazon for all of your shopping needs. It's a great way to support the channel because you're not going to spend any extra, and you're going to save a lot of money because you're going to be shopping on Amazon.com. That will help support all of the shows on Rogue Intel as well as ours. So make sure to check them out. They're really freaking awesome.
Yeah, I highly recommend you guys check out RogueIntel.com because they do have a bunch of other really interesting podcasts. And if you like podcasts, and I hear you guys always say, oh, an hour's not enough. Well, fuck, man, I got shit to do today. So
the fact of the matter is we would love to do 2-hour shows, but we have a lot of other things going on, and it's just enough to get this show out.
Yeah, so if you want more content, though, check out RogueIntel.com. It's got a whole bunch of other really good podcasts. And thank you guys so much for listening. Honestly, we love the feedback. You're the reason we do it. So keep watching, keep leaving comments, and let us know what you like and what you want more of, because we do appreciate the feedback. We may not respond to everyone, but we're reading it. We promise. So until next time, you guys, the Powerful Nerdcast is out.
What's up, guys? It's Shane from Now That I'm Older. Check out Pure Orgasmic Love on the Rogue Intel Podcast Network. Sex, one of the most amazingly diverse topics on the planet. And each week, Dragonfly and Swamp Ape will discuss and educate on topics involving love, relationships, and you guessed it, one of their favorites, sex. Pure Orgasmic Love. Find them on RogueIntel.com.